Hey everyone, it's Muffin, and this patch has been long. But the patch notes for 13.1, the first major patch of this year, have finally gone live, and I'm going to go over them with you. And if you're anything like me, I'm telling you, every unit you hoped got nerfed, got nerfed. Every unit you hoped got buffed, got buffed. It's quite a big patch. Obviously, after a month of meta shifting all over the place, they've had plenty of time to look at what's been imbalanced and actually try and make a lot of different changes. So it is quite a big patch. I'm going to only really go over like the major unit changes, and there's a couple of things that I think is important because I really like these videos being short and concise. So if you want the full patch notes, the link is in the description, but we're going to go over all the things that mostly are going to affect you while you're playing so you don't get overloaded on too much information. That's what this video is mostly going to be. But before we jump in, if you wouldn't mind hitting that subscribe button or liking the video, I would really appreciate it. It helps me out infinite, and then we'll just jump into what's new in TFT. And to start off, a change I think that a lot of people are going to like, which is there are going to be significantly less prismatic games. Last patch, it felt like almost every game was prismatic, especially with hero augments. There's just a lot of power on your board. Well, there was a 35% chance that your game was going to have a prismatic, and now that's being reduced down to 20. So about 1 in 5 games really should have prismatic augments in them. In Mortog's video, he mentioned that they're really trying to normalize gold feeling like the standard, and especially with hero augments, silver, and prismatic, gold are kind of getting diluted out of the pool and kind of makes the whole entire thing feel a bit weird. But now we should be seeing significantly more gold augments in the game and a little bit less prismatic and a little bit less silver artificially like lowering or increasing the power of the entire lobby. So that's a really good change, and I know a lot of people are going to like that one. Next up, admin had a pretty big overhaul. 6 admin now increases the other 2 bonuses by 100%, so 6 admin is massively buffed now. But they also re-added a new cause, on kill, and the way this is supposed to work, it was removed earlier, but it's supposed to be more clear that this means is your entire team gains the status of on kill, and that means when that unit gets a kill, they were going to get whatever the bonus is. So if it's on kill, gain permanent 20 HP, that means if like you have a Riven on your board and Riven gets a kill, Riven gains 20 HP, not your entire team, it's just one unit. Otherwise it would be insane. That would be kind of broken if your whole team got it. That'd 20 HP whenever you like 7-0 the enemy team, that's 200 HP for free. A lot of the rest of admin actually got buffed a whole lot as well. The main ones being gold drop. They said that they were underperforming and really want to make them more fun. So if you pick any of the gold admins, you should be getting a lot more gold now. For the other traits, Ace is now going to be executing at 15% instead of 12%. This should help Samira and Miss Fortune be more consistent as fully itemized carries instead of kind of bad as they have been back and forth. A little bit less Samira. Brawler taking a huge nerf specifically at 8 Brawler. It was super easy to get. All it took was 1 emblem or heart, and then it literally tech directly into the comp you already wanted to play. So it's actually lost a lot of HP on both 6 and 8 Brawler, getting rid of one of the highest HP pools in the game, which is 8 Brawler, and just one of the hardest front lines to deal with. Duelists are losing how much attack speed they gain on auto, but they are increasing how much stacks they can have. So it should be about the same final speed, but this is a nerf since it's going to take a little bit longer to get there. Laser core drone damage is increased, and mascots are going to lose healing on 4, 6, and 8. You're going to see a lot of frontline has been reduced throughout this patch. Honestly, that mascot reroll conf got hit like 6 different ways, and I am perfectly fine with it. It is important to mention that mascots heal double this percentage, so it's not just like a 3.25% down to 2.5%. This is a 6.5 down to 5% healing every 2 seconds, at least on mascot units. Recon's AI is actually supposed to be a lot better now, so they should be able to avoid crowds. That's the hope. Along with the mascot nerfs, supers also got nerfed. Their base damage increase went from 20% to the whole team down to 18%, and you are now only going to be getting 3% extra for every 3-star on your board instead of 5%. Considering this was 6% in PvE, supers were overpowered. I'm a little worried this might have no damage really left in supers, but I'm sure it's still going to be okay, and someone's going to find a crazy good build. Spellslingers got their AP reduced a little bit at 4, 6, and 8, but then also they aren't going to launch their first meteor at the beginning of the fight. They are going to wait until 5 seconds like initially intended. This is going to take a lot of the front heavy damage that Spellslingers were putting out, because as Mort said also is if you had 6 Spellslingers and they all threw an orb directly at the beginning of the fight, yeah, that could sometimes one-shot a frontliner unit, or it would just do a lot of damage, and you'd see frontliners just disappear. So also bringing down the damage of one of the higher AP scaling comps, while also bringing down a lot of the overperforming comps in the game. For items, blue buff now gives 5 less AP. Dragon's Claw is going to give you 30 MR instead of 20, making it a little bit better of a tank item. Probably still want to prioritize Ionic Spark though, but now at least it's more of an item. Giant Slayer's damage is being reduced. Considering it's a good item on literally every carry, I think this makes sense. Hextech Gunblade's now getting more Omni Vamp. Infinity Edge is now getting more bonus AD, and Radiant Giant Slayer and Radiant Protector's Vow are both getting buffed pretty decently. For augments, a lot of the scaling ones really got nerfed, but mostly what I want to point out here is that Blue Battery, Built Different 1, and Double Trouble 1 are now just being removed from the game. The rest of these trays mostly lost damage or a bit of bonus gold. 6 Anima Squad got a little bit of a buff, while Ox Force attack speed got buffed at 4, 6, and 8, and 6 Renegade got a bit of a nerf. Now, a lot of hero augments got touched, but I really want to get to the units, so if you're curious about these, I'm going to leave them on the screen now. Feel free to pause if you would like. The main ones I noticed was Cho'Gath and Rammus lose a bit of armor and MR, respectively, and the Vayne Carry augment is now going from 50% bonus damage to 75% bonus damage for those extra shots. But with that, let's move on to the units. Starting off with 1 cost, Ashe got a smaller mana pool, going from 60 down to 50. Blitzcrank is going to be taking less damage during his spell and at 1 cost and 2 cost. Lux got her spell damage increased up across the board, and Poppy will be gaining a bigger shield at all stars. Some bigger changes are Galio's is getting a huge shield nerf, going from 250 down to 200 at 1 star, and from 375 down to 280 at 3 star. And since he shields another unit, I do think that this is a pretty decent nerf, as well as he'll be doing this less because he has a slight mana nerf as well. So a Galio 2 carrying you through the stage 2 is going to be a little bit less consistent, but some other units are going to become slightly more clickable, such as Silas, who's gaining 50 HP, as well as now should be healing more, so hopefully now 2-starring a Silas won't be a complete waste of your time and board space. As well as Talon, who might now be useful. Attack speed going from 0.65 up to 7. A small damage of 10 spell damage at each star level. Not super huge of a buff, but I also agree with the take of Talon that's really good is going to be really annoying to play against most of the time, so I'm kind of okay with him being a mid unit that's kind of okay. You might put him on a board. In a set without assassins, they really did make one unit about as close to assassins as possible, and I'm okay with him being B tier. Now comes the part everyone has been waiting for. Yuumi, huge nerf. Her range has now gone down from 5 to 4, so if she wants to snipe a backline carry, she pretty much has to be in the second row or the first row, so she's going to be in a lot more danger now, as well as it's going to be a lot easier for her to get stuck attacking frontline units rather than attacking the backline, just because of the amount of units that are going to be in her range, as well as her damage has been reduced at all 3-star levels, being 90 damage at 3-star. So Yuumi is not going to be as strong as she was. How much that's going to change things, we are yet to see, but hopefully now 4 Aegis is going to make it so that your units are not getting one-shot by this stupid cat. I am perfectly okay with this. Some other 2-cost changes. Vi is now going to do Armor Shred 50% at all star levels instead of 40, 50, 70. Jinx just got a decent buff, 5 AD and spell damage at all 3-star levels. The main idea being that the hope being she might become a good item carry in the Anima Squad trait, and that she might be able to carry items for either your Vayne or your Misfortune later in the game. I don't know. My big thing is I thought she's too slow. I think she's too slow of an attacker. So even with this kind of damage increase, I still think she might be a little bit slow because of how fast a lot of combats do happen, but who knows. Ezreal got a small damage buff at all 3-star levels, and probably one of my favorite buffs this patch is Draven got attack speed buff. I know he's supposed to be in the mech build, he's supposed to be just this big guy that like throws his ultimate all the time, but I love the idea, that classic like debonair Draven idea of a Draven that just is throwing non-stop axes. Maybe we can play kind of like an attack speed ace Draven that doesn't need mech or something. I think that'd be really cool. So just like build up a strong front line maybe. I don't know. But I think attack speed Draven would be really cool. So if you learn that build, let me know. I would love to see it. Camille got a small buff at 1-star, but a small nerf at 3-star. And Annie got a pretty decent nerf. Her entire purpose is being able to cast her big shield and using that with Ox Force to either heal back up or just bonus stall. And so her being able to cast it less and her repeat cast becoming less seems pretty significant, as well as her spell shield being smaller seems like it's also going to lower how much she's really tankable. However, she is still Ox Force, so she's always going to be able to cast at least like twice probably. So she'll probably still be really good on a lot of boards. And Spell Slingers wasn't really hit hard this patch, so she's still going to be a good unit. And with the 3 costs, we've got some more juicy goodness. Vel'Koz is nerfed. Vel'Koz got a huge nerf. Damage at all 3-star levels, as well as 1 more auto to cast. So now people spamming 2 Vel'Kozes on their board are hopefully going to one-shot your main carry a lot less. That's my hope with this. I don't even mind the stunning. I just hate how much damage this unit does, especially if people put 2 on them and it's so targeted directly at your backline. It's just miserable. Put that right next to the Jax nerfs, and this patch is just so good. Jax only losing 5 AD, 10 to 25 base damage on his spell, and quite substantiated on his stacking that comes with his spell. If you don't know, whenever he repeat his cast up to 7 times, his spell does more damage. Well, that ramping has been pretty significantly reduced. At 3-star, going from a base of 75 down to 50, so 30% weaker. Now, not a 33% weaker spell, but 33% slower ramping. So Jax is going to still probably be a decent carry, but not nearly as impressive. Kai'Sa also got a bit of a nerf, not insanely, just 5% and 10% attack speed at 2 and 3-star. So still the same amount of damage, just a little bit slower. So still really will probably like Shiv, really will like Rageblade, really will like QSS, just a little bit slower of ramping off of her spell. Vayne, however, her twin sister, who does almost no damage half the time, other than in duelists, got a decent spell AD increase at 1, 2, and 3-star, as well as her spell base damage was increased at 3-star. So hopefully Vayne reroll is now going to become a little bit more viable, especially now that they're doing a lot of these small buffs to Anima Squad. And the last of the 3 cost is Cho'Gath, has been nerfed at 2 and 3-star, just his spell damage based off of his MR ratio. LeBlanc is getting buffed at 2 and 3-star. I already thought she was actually a semi-decent unit, but I think a lot of people don't itemize her because you really like her in endgame boards, and so you really just don't use her as the actual carry. I think she actually could be a carry at 1 and 2-star throughout the beginning and mid game. Neela's healing got nerfed at all 3-star levels, while Rammus also got buffed at 1-star but nerfed at 3-star with his spell damage based off of his armor percentage. Senna also got a very small buff at all 3-stars. Just about every 4 cost in the game got touched, starting off with Bel'Veth, the big slappy fish herself. Well, turns out there's actually been a pretty big bug with Bel'Veth where whenever she cast her ability, she did not really scale with any level of AD or items at all. And so I believe Mort said she was doing probably about 5% the damage that she was supposed to be doing in her cast. So them removing this bug is actually a huge buff to Bel'Veth, and she might actually become a really good unit. And I'm actually hoping this is true. I said in one of my previous videos, I think Bel'Veth's one of the most useless champions in the game. But if she actually starts doing damage, yeah, she's probably after this patch. It depends on how exactly this interaction of this bug worked, because I don't understand it. I didn't make the game. But the removal of this bug might actually make Bel'Veth one of the best carries in the game, in my opinion. A lot like Zed, but a little bit more consistent and doesn't need an entire trait built around her. That's my hope. We'll see how that goes, but I'm hoping that Bel'Veth and like Asol carry is able to really become a thing. Misfortune is now guaranteed to ult directly at the largest clump of enemies instead of shooting directly at her target, and she should also turn faster if everyone in her cone dies. But from the buffs to Ace and Anima Squad, she's going to be losing a little bit of her spell damage at all 3-star levels. Set is getting quite a bit of buffs with 100 HP. That's at 1-star, so at 2-star he'll gain even more, I think like 180. So a decent amount of HP for his frontline capabilities. His channel time's going from 2.5 seconds down to 2 seconds, and the damage from his spell is being upped at all 3-star levels. So Set might actually be able to do a bit more damage as well, and honestly might even become a carry. Zack's spell is getting buffed, as well as his blob should spawn a little bit faster. Hopefully now your Zack's not going to die and people are just going to walk up to your backline while you still have frontline, making him just a little bit more better of a frontliner. And Zed actually got an interesting buff. He gets 30% bonus damage off of his base spell, but his kill mode Titan is now 7 on 1, 2, and 3-star. This is justified in that now he might do more damage during his kill mode time, but he actually might become a little bit weaker in that he doesn't drop aggro since he's not going to cast as much, which I think is an interesting take on Zed. Aurelion Sol and Soraka just got nerfed at 3-star, as well as Soraka is now going to be healing herself less off of her ability. Was at 10% of her health, and now it should only be at 8%. While Samira's 3-star spell AD is now going to be vastly better, and now I think 3-star 4-cost carries are actually going to be a little bit more valuable. And Viego actually got buffed at 1 and 2-star. A little bit of HP and damage increased. And moving on to 5-cost, Nunu and Willem got their spell damage increased at 1 and 2-star. Meanwhile, just about every other 5-cost unit got buffed to a lot. Aphelios got the damage on his stun gun reduced. This was the gun everyone was using all the time. There was no case scenario where you didn't use this gun, pretty much because his damage just wasn't there. However, his other 2 guns got their damage decently increased. The red gun now going from 270 damage up to 300% 80, and the blue gun, Duskwave, I believe, going from 200% up to 225. So hopefully Aphelios might be able to actually do some damage now and be a real carry. Fast 9 hasn't really been a thing this set, so maybe we'll see a lot more people focusing around these 5-cost units. Fiddlesticks Fiddlesticks got his mana reduced down from 90 to 66, so him recasting is going to be a lot more likely. He's also more tanky because he's got 70 per MR instead of 60, and he even got a small damage reduction, and his come alive threshold is at 70% HP instead of 60, so that now he also can still proc things like Zonia's and Edge of Night. So getting Fiddlesticks to be able to cast over and over again is going to become a lot more doable, and making him kind of an interesting tank carry that's going to want to lose aggro all the time, but he stuns half the team anyways, so it's just a different type of front line. But I think like a Radiant Edge of Night would probably be amazing on Fiddlesticks. Mordekaiser's gaining starting mana, so he's going to do his first cast a little bit faster, and then just a little damage on the top. Meanwhile, Syndra's going to be able to cast a lot more. Her total mana pool going from 140 down to 125. And Urgot is now going to scale a little bit more off of AD and attack speed. He generally didn't really benefit a lot from items, but he is going to lose 1/4 of a second on stun on 1 star. But on 1 star and 2 star, he's going to be slightly more likely to summon chests. Those chests are just going to be less likely to summon items. So he's going to become a lot more of a gold farmer unit while also being able to deal a little bit more damage and a little bit less of a CC bot, but then also a little bit less items. Still probably a good unit, but I imagine with how less 2-star and 3-star units are going to be valuable during this patch, I imagine going 9 and really making strong level 9 boards and 5-cost units is going to become a lot more viable this patch. And that's it. That's the new patch. I'm really excited. I think this is going to be really good for those who like going fast 8 or even like going level 8, but also makes the prospect of going like fast 9 a lot more viable. You've seen a lot of people so far this set really building their boards around level 6 and level 7. This should build a lot more strength into being able to go level 8, level 9, and building really strong boards and really capped boards with these 4 and 5 cost units. I'm really excited. Let me know how you guys think about this patch, and I'll see you guys again tomorrow with another video. Anyways, I've been Muffin. You guys have been amazing, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.